And now, a thought from Geico Motorcycle.
It took 15 minutes to take a spirit animal quiz online.
Please be the cheetah. Please be the cheetah.
And learn your animal isn't the cheetah, but the far less appealing blobfish.
Oh, come on.
To add insult to injury, you could have used those 15 blobfish minutes to switch your motorcycle insurance to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
It's hosting season. And this hosting season, you could enter eligible New York Lottery draw game tickets with Collect and Win for a chance to win a $5,000 gift card to use at the Home Depot. So, enter today and make one of the most stressful times of the year a little easier.
The Home Depot is not a sponsor of this promotion. You must be 18 years or older to purchase a lottery ticket. You must be 21 or older to purchase a quick draw ticket where alcoholic beverages are served. Please play responsibly. Entered by 1/7/20.
I'll say this for him, he's consistent.
Well, he's been so consistent all year.
Not the taste, consistency.
Consistently, yes.
Consistency! Thanks, losers.
And we are back for the Fantasy Football Consistency Show. Welcome back. We are heading here into Week 15. Pretty much the semifinals in most of your leagues. Maybe you go into Week 17. If you do, I'm sorry. But as always, we are part of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out all the great podcasts on there, but especially two extra ones, and outside of this one, of course. The Consistently Cashing on Saturday with Ron Rigney and Colby Conway, and also Colby and I then do the Prop Bet Consistency Tool. And speaking of Ron Rigney, he hasn't been around for a while. He's a busy boy. Working his ass off, being a good dad, taking care of things. I think he went to Universal last weekend. So, Ron, welcome back as the former co-host, now a regular co-host. Glad to have you, man.
Thank you. The triumphant return. I've been anything but consistent the last few weeks, but we're trying to get back on that yeah. Consistency train here. And in playoff time, it's crunch time. I love these playoff questions. I'm getting people asking me if they should start Ryan Tannehill over Aaron Rodgers. I love it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's and that's the thing this time of year, and I made the playoffs in 17 out of 23 leagues. Nice. That's what I expect, 75%. So I was really happy about that. Felt okay, solid year, doing well, and I think I only am in 5 left. So it's like last week was just. And the beatdown came from some of the damnedest people. Like, I lost to a team that started Noah Fant and A.J. Brown.
Yes.
Like, 60 points combined. And it's that kind of stuff that I just sit there and go, yes, consistency is important, but when it's one and done, baby, there's nothing you can do about it. And, I know Mike Clay wasn't very happy with me this past week, and he brought that out on national radio, Sirius Radio, because I played Emmanuel Sanders and Austin Eckler. Well, I play them every week, so I don't look at that as a, bad thing. It's just, okay, yeah, they both went really off. I get it. But Mike was very disappointed. But, hey, Mike, look, I'm only in 5 left. You still have probably tons that you're still in, so you'll be fine. Anyway, but tonight we got, of course, the Ravens and the Jets going on. Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Mark Andrews, maybe even a little Hollywood Brown will be mixed in there for the Jets. We don't know what's going to happen there. I had guys like Robbie Anderson in some leagues, but I didn't start any of them. So I don't know if you started any Jets in any of your leagues, but I know I didn't.
I think I may have had to start Le'Veon Bell in one, but other than that,
and that maybe is not a big deal.
You know what? I do have Robbie Anderson in one of my leagues.
Okay,
I do have him in, so we'll see.
Yeah,
not too optimistic about it though.
No. I mean, there may be some garbage time because I have a feeling Baltimore's going to jump off to a big lead quick, and they already have one touchdown. So, and that was Mark Ingram. So help me in my touchdown only league, long time. Big game there between the number one scoring team, but I beat him both times this year, so we'll see how that all plays out. So speaking of Lamar Jackson, how about that for a segue? Let's talk about the top quarterback of the year, number one in fantasy points. He's about 43 points ahead of second place Deshaun Watson, 92% consistency. We haven't talked enough about this year, and I personally take responsibility for this. I kind of forgot to calculate the X consistency and throw that in there. But for those of you who don't know what the X consistency is, that's basically taking their average points per game and multiplying it times their consistency rate to kind of get a better feel for where they sit. And as expected, Lamar Jackson, 27.12 X consistency number. Second place is Dak Prescott at 21.6. So basically 6 full points. That's a lot, folks. And it's because high consistency, high points, that'll do it every time. Basically, there's only even 3 guys over 20, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, and Lamar Jackson. After that, it starts dropping off. Even Patrick Mahomes, granted, he's had some injury, but only 73%, 10th in total points. He's only 17.62 X consistency. Rest of them, I mean, are a lot of guys that we'll get to them, but... Mm-hmm. You know, Ron, we haven't talked about X consistency enough this year. I promise next year I'm going to get it more into the mix because it is an important factor to look at for these guys who haven't played a full complement of games because of injuries and stuff like that, that they may be a little bit higher in their X consistency, that kind of stuff. But, you know, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. So next year, you know, this year, yes, he was injured. Yes, he's had his struggles. But in the end... he's still 73% consistent. I know we expected him to be more up in the Lamar Jackson range in the 90s, but just not there this year. Well, I think we can write it off a little bit to injuries. He lost Tyreek Hill for a little bit. I mean, as you look towards next year, I mean, we know everybody's going to start all these guys this week in your fantasy playoffs, but as we look to next year, you have to believe Lamar Jackson's going to be the number 1 pick at quarterback. Sure. Probably like Pat Mahomes, 2nd, 3rd round, I'm thinking. But I really like Mahomes next year as a good value candidate because I think he might be that 4th and 5th round guy that we can get. And if he can get back to not last year's numbers, that's probably hard to fathom. But if he can get back into the 35, 40 touchdown range and play all 16 games, I think he's going to be a great value if you can get him in the 5th round.
No, I agree, and it's going to be one of those things too, where like you said, he's going to be a little bit pushed down, like in that 4th or 5th round area, and it kind of goes to show what we talk about a little bit as well in investing so early in quarterback, because when you look at guys past him, you look at that consistency that we talk about, you look at the total points we talk about. There's going to be some guys coming up down the line here. They may not have the exact, they may not have the consistency that Patrick Mahomes has, but they've definitely got the point totals that are going to surpass his. But I think it makes me a little bit more likely to buy into him in yearly leagues because it was just really, really hard to pull the trigger in that for especially that 2nd and even that 3rd round pick for him this year. And I think Lamar Jackson, I can justify it, him going a little bit, justify more him going in that range a little bit more just because he does do with his legs what we expect him to do every week. But, it also makes me wonder, too, Patrick Mahomes has been a little bit iffy since the injury. I wonder if he tried to come back too soon, possibly.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not been bad, but, 73% is still pretty solid, but he definitely was not like what he was. And I like what you said there, too. He's not going to get back to those numbers a couple of years ago, but if he can find somewhere to kind of settle in between last year and this year, I think that's a pretty solid pick in that 4th round.
Right. I mean, if he can get, right now Lamar Jackson has 35 total touchdowns. All right. So, last year Mahomes had 50. So probably about this time last year, that's where Mahomes was 35, I would assume. Probably give or take a few. So if he can get back into that 35, 40 touchdowns total for the year, I think that he'll be right back up there and will be a much better value because you got him in the 5th round and not too early. I mean, as you said, I only got him in 2 leagues. I drafted him in the Scott Fish Bowl because, it was one of those where I got him in the middle of the 2nd round and, it was a 2-quarterback league. So, I was it the smart move? I mean, I got to the playoffs, but I got knocked out in the 1st round because Mahomes didn't have a great week this past week, along with other things too. But, when he was hot, the team was great. When he was not so good. But again, this year, lots of other guys that are up there, that were later round picks, like Lamar Jackson, like Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Jameis Winston was down there. I mean, we were high on him from a consistency standpoint because he puts up garbage numbers. He throws interceptions, which means he's got to throw more passes and more yards. He's fifth in total points, 62%. Not great, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. He's tied for 8th. So fifth in total points, tied for 8th, and consistency is 62%. Not bad. To be honest with you, if he's still there next year, which I assume he will be, and Arians is still there, I'll probably draft him. And if I can get him as my backup, maybe I get Mahomes in the 5th and get Winston in the 10th. I'm fine with that. So, there's other guys down the road, but I think the thing we see more this year than I think we've had in the past is the disappointing consistency in some of the top guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. We kind of expected a little bit more of those kind of guys that just aren't putting up the numbers we expected. Matt Ryan kind of down this year, 67%, 9th in total points. Kind of disappointing those guys. And I think Russell Wilson's the one that a lot of people are like, oh, MVP season, and he's been great, and he's been awesome. And, yeah, on the NFL side he has. But, from a consistency and from a fantasy standpoint, I can't believe that people got to the playoffs with him as their quarterbacks because, 53% or 54%, that's just not getting it done on a week-to-week basis. What are your thoughts on guys like that heading into next year? Wilson, Wentz, Rodgers, Breeze, just like we kind of looked at it this year. I'm probably going to not stay away, but certainly not draft them up in the, mid, 5th to 7th round like I looked at possibly doing this past year.
Well, I think with Rodgers, too, it makes him a little bit better value as well, kind of like we talked about with Mahomes. It pushes him down a little bit further if you want to grab him later on. I don't want to say that you'd get him as a QB2, but if you wait on quarterback and, stock up at the other spots, I think that makes him a solid value. One of the things I want to point out about Jameis Winston, too, is, you mentioned the total points, the 310 total points, the 5th in consistency, and that 62% clutch rate. He's done that with 23 picks, 26 touchdowns, and 23 picks. And you talked about that a little bit. But when you think about 13 games played and 23 interceptions, that's a ton. And if you own him, you know that. So that kind of shows you the eye-popping numbers he's putting up despite turning it over. Imagine if he was a guy that could put up those numbers and only has like 10 picks right now. He would be right about it.
Hell, if he caught him in half.
Yeah, that'd be right in that Patrick Mahomes neighborhood from last year. So the guy that I think is one of the biggest question marks, and it's not so much I think for his performance for Carson Wentz, is just the fact that he has nobody to throw to. Right. I got to watch him last week, and that's the first time I'd seen him play really up close when they played the Giants, and there's nobody for him to throw to. They've got to get that guy some help. He's got the tight ends. They've got that part taken care of, but they got to upgrade that line. They got to get him some wide receivers. If they can do that, I think he could be probably one of the better values on here if they had some weapons around him.
No, and I totally agree. I think next year he'll be a great value. And if they can, whether it's Deshaun Jackson come back healthy and stay healthy, and that's the key, or they get, maybe a younger second, third-year receiver that might be available. I don't know who's out there going to be out there in free agency, but somebody that can give them a little more juice than, guys like Aguilar and, Alshon Jeffrey. I think Jeffrey can be good, but they got to get rid of Aguilar, and they got to get a guy in there that can stretch the field a little bit, open things up, and, let Wentz, like you said, spread the ball around to people he can count on. So you're right. It's been a bad year. So, all right, let's move over to the running back position. Dalvin Cook, 100% consistent, second in total points. A little scary right now, because of the injury. He played some last week, got his clutch game, but they took it easy on him. So this week we'll see if he can be full force. If he can get 16 to 20 points, while that's not what we've been hoping for, I think that's what we can ask for. We just don't want him to get hurt again during the game and then, basically get 3 points and then sit on the bench the rest of the time. But they got a big game against, I think it's Seattle. Am I right? I think it's against Seattle. And, that will certainly be helpful. No, not Seattle. Where am I at? Minnesota. Oh, that's right. They're playing Chargers. So they're playing at the Chargers.